Every one of us and all of our businesses grow along with it. And with that in mind, I'm eager to introduce our keynote speaker. He's going to speak firsthand from his own experience about the importance of doing exactly what we're doing here in Warren County, and that's formulating a place-based strategy, leaning into it, putting every shoulder behind it, and making it all a place that it can be, the best place that it can be. Greg Tehven is an expert in placemaking. He's the CEO and co-founder of Emerging Prairie, an organization that's creating a thriving ecosystem for entrepreneurs, innovators, and technologists in Fargo, North Dakota. Greg has been a leader of the award-winning revitalization of Fargo's approach to economic and community development over the past decade. How did he and his colleagues do this? They looked at Fargo's existing assets and resources. They built up upon their community's existing strengths. They forged an identity and a path forward for Fargo by first and foremost believing in Fargo and loving it, loving the place that they call home. Greg is a fifth-generation North Dakotan. He holds a degree from the University of Minnesota, and he's completed Stanford's Graduate School of Business Social Entrepreneurship Executive course. He's happily married to an entrepreneur, and he's a father of 3. And I'd like to, at this time, play a short video showing a little bit about what Greg is all about.
I think the secret sauce of Fargo is the spirit of creativity, of wonder.
It's a town where you can make something happen. If you're a creative, a maker, an entrepreneur, you're one conversation away from someone who might be able to help an idea come to reality.
The secret sauce of Fargo is the creativity and ingenuity of the people who are here and who are coming here and making cool things happen that they want to see and how they support and try to grow the city that they want to live in.
People in Fargo are hardworking, they're focused on the community, and you will see a level of community good above personal interest everywhere you go in Fargo.
What I love about people in this region is they don't answer the question who, they answer the question me. I can solve the problem. My school needs this, well we should do that, or we want to do this, well I can contribute to that.
People sometimes associate ruralness with lack of progress, which just isn't the case. We have some of the premier healthcare systems for serving rural communities. We have some of the premier educational systems serving rural communities. Microsoft's second largest campus outside of Redmond, Washington is here.
We have a convergence of 3 things coming together: agriculture, energy, and technology. We are the first to innovate the Bobcat, the skid steer loader, Steiger tractor. All these great companies were born in this area.
We really are very proud to talk about our advanced care in our bone marrow transplant program, which is just under 3 years old, amongst many other peds subspecialties, to really provide that care for our families and our children in our backyard and across our state.
We have 2 major healthcare providers. We have major industry in agriculture. We have major industry in steel and mechanical and industrial. We have a symphony and opera.
Our downtown has gotten like dramatically cooler and more of a place where you just want to hang out. And that is because of our park district and places like Folkways activating like a main square to actually exist, and for people to gather in and to have free events that are family friendly.
Fargo has a tendency to wrap its arms around its community and specifically its youth, and it's something that I'm really grateful for.
Really is about the people. The people are kind, the people are hardworking, and really look out for each other and each other within the community.
I'm not going to wait for someone else to shape the place that I want to live, and so we can make it happen ourselves.
We don't want to be the next Austin, Texas, or the next Silicon Valley. We want to be the first Fargo. A unique, interesting place filled with misfits and creativity, where people can experiment and be accepted, and ultimately increase the sense of belonging for each and every person.
Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Tehven.
Well, good morning, everybody. Am I on? Am I on? Test, test. Are we on? Are we good? Can you hear me in the back? Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm a bit rusty. I haven't done this for a while, and last night I got a little distracted because I flew in and I stayed here, and You have a lot of arcades here. And it turns out when you get to go to an arcade as a parent and you don't have kids to compete with, you get to actually win and spend far less money. What an absolute honor it is. I'm going to have an opportunity to share a little bit about my past, a little bit about what we're working on, and some thoughts for all of you. But first of all, where I'm from, just like geographic question, everybody acknowledge North Dakota is one of the 50 states. Okay, so we too have 2 U.S. senators just like you, but we only have 4% of the population of New York. So we're not all that similar as a state. Second thing, anybody been to North Dakota? Okay, awesome. Thank you for visiting. We lead the country when people are going to all 50 states. Like, we lead the country. Most people that get to the 50th state is North Dakota. And so it's an absolute honor to be an award winner here with all of you. We welcome all of you. And then I do want to make a disclaimer. Anybody ever heard of Mount Rushmore? Okay, South Dakota, not us. Other thing I want to say, we got a lot in common, I'm learning. You guys got the Last of the Mohicans movie, right? We got Fargo. But we got a TV show, so that was exciting. So I love being from North Dakota. It's interesting, like when you travel, I don't know if this is like you, but people actually speak louder to me because they're like, oh, we're from North Dakota, and then they're like, oh my God, I've never met someone from there. And then they speak louder as if we don't, like we can't hear. And then they ask, oh, do you have the internet? It's like, yeah, we do. And they're like, oh, Wells Fargo, love the bank. I'm like, oh no, that's not us either. But I grew up in the so I'm 41, I'm halfway to 82, and I grew up in the 90s in North Dakota, and they were talking about the brain drain. The best and the brightest from North Dakota were leaving. And I wasn't the best or the brightest, but I left because I didn't want anyone to know. And they went, we had a declining population. So from 1930 to 2000, we were one of the only states with a declining population. And they went to these researchers, these Ivy League folks. Anybody know an Ivy League person? Like we should get their autograph or something. But they went and said, what should we do with North Dakota? Declining population. And it was in the National Geographic. They said, give the prairie back to the buffalo. And I am convinced I am a victim of geographical bullying. How can a place elicit such response? But that's where I'm from, and so I couldn't wait to leave. I went to the University of Minnesota. I did a dorm room startup, and then I burned out, and I wandered around the world on a quarter-life crisis. Anybody get one of those? Yeah, it turns out the midlife that I just went through is way worse, but Zoloft is amazing, and that's an anxiety joke, but I got some in the car if you need some. But I got back, and I got a full ride to go to graduate school anywhere I wanted in the world, so through the Rotary Foundation. Any Rotarians here? Thank you for your service. 4-way test, not easy, but I have passed it once. But I got back, and I had to wait for a year, and I ended up working for this guy, Doug Burgum, and he had built a company called Great Plains Software. Anybody ever use Great Plains Software? All right, good. That tells me you've been around for a while. Had a few birthdays, and he was reimagining downtown Fargo, so I was going to work for him. And I started to realize I wanted to create the community I want to be part of. So 11 years ago, I stood on a stage like this in Guernsey. It's one of the islands off the coast of France. And I made this big commitment how you could create the community you wanted to be part of. So I want to give you a little update how that's going. So the test I thought is if I wanted to create the community I want to be part of, there was 4 things I needed to focus on. Create world-class experiences. How do we be the first Fargo? We didn't want to be the next Austin, Texas, or the next Boulder, Colorado. We wanted to be the first Fargo. The second was infuse the arts. Infuse the arts in everything we do. The third was connect people, share friends, get people off to a great start. And the last one was be radically inclusive. How could we take Fargo and make it the most inclusive place we could be? And the results after the last 11 years have been absolutely transformational. North Dakota is now one of the youngest states in the country. Our average age is about 35.7 years old. Why? 2 key factors: world-class public education and world-class healthcare. The 2 things that bring people to our state are great colleges and universities and great healthcare. You all have that same opportunity. What are you doing to encourage your teachers, to thank your nurses? How do we be great customers? Now, as a parent, I think, God, parent-teacher conference, another reflection of my self-improvement opportunities. But we have an opportunity to do that. This is from an event where we had an e-commerce conference in the middle of a mall. The mall was dying. Turns out you don't even have to rent it. You just use their storefronts. There's no distractions with people. But we've built an e-commerce community. Then we started to have events where we just thank people. We have a fundraiser once a year called 1 Million Thanks. We give out awards and we celebrate people in our community. We tell our CFO it's a fundraiser because we lose like $100,000. We forget to ask people for money. But we celebrate our entrepreneurs, and we make it interesting and exciting. We have a TEDx event. It's one of the largest in the country. We've had hundreds of speakers, millions of views. We got 2,000 people there. And we don't just get people from the state. We get the Lamoureux sisters who won gold medals, or the president of Microsoft, all these folks, the power of an invitation to gather. And then folks like this for the last 11 years have been making, that's one of the guys in the middle, he was on that video. His name's Joe Burgum. He runs the largest farmers market in our community. Over 100,000 people show up every summer to this farmers market. But what I find interesting is the start of all these projects. It's like everybody in my community appointed themselves a devil's advocate. It's like, we're good on those. It's like, I have to take it upon myself to tell the young people why it won't work. And I realized, like, imagine if somebody would have told that author, J.K. Rowling, like, I don't think you should write that first book. Think about how many times she was denied until she gave us Harry Potter. But yet we all hear ideas. And I want to challenge you, when somebody comes up to you with an idea, look for the reasons why it can work. Believe me, there's bankers out there that'll tell us why it's not bankable. But we all have an opportunity to support great ideas. The other thing that's happened in North Dakota is we've become a very wealthy state. We now have the 49th largest sovereign wealth fund in the country. It's called the Legacy Fund. It's a $12.5 billion fund that the state taxes itself on oil and gas revenue to reinvest and reimagine our community. And North Dakota is an incredible place, and the results speak for themselves. And then one of those entrepreneurs, and I love entrepreneurs. How many of you know an entrepreneur? And okay, good. It's like you need a self-help group to like support people that live with them. I do. But entrepreneurs are incredible because they dream of the possibility. You know, when I think about our artists, when I've learned about your community, I'm just blown away. I got to go by the shirt factory last night. Has anybody ever been to that place? I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that guy or gal's guidance school counselor didn't say one day you're going to build this collaborative with 100 artists and 4 stages and murals and containers. And I went by there going, oh my God, I want to live in a place like that. The power of imagination. I always believe entrepreneurs drive our economy, but our artists drive our creativity, and they give us a hint into the future of the world. And our artists know where things are. And I want to challenge each and one of you to be an advocate for the arts. And I'm not asking a musician to play at one of your events for exposure. I'm asking you to pay them, to vote with your checkbook, vote with your feet, show up, encourage them. I was with Susan last night where I heard stories of her launching artists and supporting them. And we all have an opportunity to do that. I think communities like this can win with the arts. I don't get art. I got my first B in my life in an art class. I still don't get it. But I know it's important. And I know when a community has great public art, it's a signal of openness and inclusion. So I'd encourage you to think about that. So then a few years ago, I got one of those key questions. You know those questions you get where you're like, I can't get it out of my head. And there was this guy, Barry Batchelor. He's from the great state of New York. His mom was a Rockette. His dad was a pilot. Both were pretty disengaged at the home, so he grew up on the streets of New York City. And he wanted to go to a place where he could afford education. And he found North Dakota. And he came in the 60s. During the space race, and he built several companies. One was, he put the first computer chip on a tractor. He sold the company to John Deere. Now he sold one to AGCO, which is the 3rd largest equipment organization. And at one of our community events, he asked me, Greg, what is our community's major? And he's an engineer, so he said, what do we have a right to exist in? What matters to the world? And what do we actually have a chance to experience and to actually win at? And so I got together with Barry and a college kid. We brought him with, and we got another entrepreneur, and we started to dream what was our community's major. And we started to enjoy alcohol. And so now I'm no longer able to go to dinner with Barry after 8 p.m. because there were some rough mornings. And we were filled with terrible ideas like a robot parade. Who wants to go to a robot parade? I don't really know. But then we said it's got to be advanced technology and agriculture. And so it came up with this idea of Grand Farm. What would happen if we created an independent, neutral platform that collaborated to support growers, that engaged early stage companies, the academic organizations, the established organization, policymakers, to solve real problems for real farmers in agriculture. And unlike our friends in New York City, we all know food comes from the field, not the grocery store. And so we had an opportunity in the heartland to celebrate that. And so we wanted to take a different approach. If you think about economic development, there's a wide range of ways you could do it. One is you could do the simple approach. Just use a recipe. Do A, get B. Make some calls, try to get a phone center or call center to come, whatever. The second is a complicated model. How do you send a rocket to the moon? What is the formula? How do you do advanced things with a formula? The third was complex. Anybody tries to raise a child? Like, I had 3 kids under 3. It's obvious why nobody encouraged me to do that. But it's complex, multiple inputs. I don't know what's working. Often I know what's not working. But then there's the chaotic approach. Like, has anybody ever been to like India? Or you like try to go through traffic, you're like, how does this work? Or maybe you spent some time in Vietnam and you see this, but like chaotic strategies. Or I've been told in the summer, if you go down this main drag, you guys get to experience it like every day because millions of people are coming here. So we tried to take a complex approach, not out of a textbook, but what if we did a bunch of things and tried a bunch of impact to see what could happen? And so it started to work. In 2017, we launched this idea of an advanced technology in agriculture. Somehow, Microsoft wanted to be relevant in rural America, which is great, and they made a $1.5 million kickoff to get us off the ground as we looked at building a steering committee of people to solve problems. What were the problems in North Dakota? What could advanced technology in agriculture solve? We knew access to venture capital was a big thing. Did you know? I bet you didn't. So you're going to like tell your friends, you're going to be so important, you can post this on LinkedIn. Do you know who the #1 venture capitalist in North Dakota was in 2019? We got not available because we didn't have any, so we had to work on that. Then we had to think about on-farm safety. We had to think about how do you get young people involved to stay and contribute. And we started to work on it, and so we launched this idea. And at our first event, we were so grateful because Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, came. And it turns out he just loves pheasant hunting. And so we were close to pheasant hunting. And so we came, we had a first event, we had Sandy's Donuts, which is like premium donuts, which was great, and a tent. But that was our first ever event. And then this entrepreneur gave us 40 acres of land. So we got a porta potty out there, and it was during the pandemic, and we could do outdoor things. So we started inviting people. And then the state of North Dakota was going to do an autonomous plowing solution because it turns out getting people to drive plows in a blizzard is not enjoyable. Has anyone ever tried that? Don't recommend it. And so all of a sudden, we did this event out at Grand Farm with autonomous plowing. And then we connect the sugar beet farmers with that same company, Kratos, down in Florida. And now they've done 300,000 acres of autonomous truck testing in North Dakota because of us just hosting and gathering people. And then so we got this tent up, and we would just do anything. Like a college kid would like say, oh, I want to have an event out at your place. We're like, perfect, we'll buy you pizza. And then they came, and then fancy people would come see our grand farm, and we'd get a whiteboard, and we'd write up a bunch of fake stuff like Good Will Hunting on the whiteboard. And then people thought we were smart, and all of a sudden Chairman Pai, the FCC, came, and then the mayor of Fargo came up to me like, Greg, you got Grand Farm? I'm like, yes. He's like, you're getting hundreds of people out here? I'm like, yes. He says, this doesn't seem very grand. I'm like, but we have 3 porta potties now. And then we started to dream bigger. And during the ARPA funding, the American Rescue Plan Act, or whatever that was, somehow the legislator thought that they should give us $10 million for COVID response to build a 25,000 square foot facility at Grand Farm. We bought 140 acres of land. Here's the grand opening. We had balloons and like famous people. And now people just keep coming. We just had 150 FFA kids from across the country, and they got a chance to hear from Jamie Heineman, the Chief Technology Officer of John Deere. And when you ask high school kids to give corporate execs feedback, it is awesome. It is so raw. They just keep pushing them. It's like real feedback, not like pleasantry feedback. So that was good. Let's see what else we got here. And then we keep having all these events. So we threw up an AI conference in agriculture because that's kind of the buzzword. We hosted a U.S. Senate hearing with 4 members of the U.S. Senate Agriculture Committee, Senator Bozeman from Arkansas, Klobuchar and Smith from Minnesota, Senator Hoeven. We had Secretary Rollins come out to Grand Farm this summer for a tour on advanced technology in agriculture. And just last week, we had the Brookings Institute and the American Enterprise Institutes doing a rural prosperity tour, and they came and they're meeting our community. And we realize it's all just because we had this vision and idea to invite the world. So since we've opened, we've had 5,000 visitors. We have 450 acres of land. We host international groups. Like, who knew? Like, more international people come to North Dakota than, like, all of you. And so they're coming from, like, all over the world, which is really fun. And we have all these field tests. We have 70 corporations that pay us as partners to support the innovation ecosystem. And now we just kicked off a $40 million capital campaign to build a bigger campus to engage more in advanced technology and agriculture. And I tell you this whole story as this kid with an idea who grew up on a family farm, but the only thing I did on the farm is I took it upon myself to help grandma while my dad and my brother and my grandpa were farming. I played rummy and ate ice cream with her as my contribution to the farm. People can have wild and crazy ideas. I don't have a background in agriculture. I don't have a background in traditional economic development, but through collaboration with Emerging Prairie, the parent organization in Grand Farm, we've seen results. Our local EDC gave us the first $100,000 to contribute to this vision. Our local EDC was the one that opened the doors to get us off the ground. The partners within the EDC were the ones that gave us the platform to share our story to their colleagues, that chipped in the financial resources and told their friends and have invited the world. The Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC was the transformational organization that paved the way for us to do all this work. And that's what I sense here. When I got here today, I went organization by organization, and I looked at who's showing up. I looked at the names of the people that are volunteering and chipping in. You know, when I had an opportunity to hear from Dr. Duffy just sitting there, I asked, what are you going to do after retirement? She said, I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to keep at it. I get the sense that everything that I've seen here, whether it's Glen Falls downtown and the incredible theater, this reimagination of a Main Street, you know, I do think you could close a couple of those arcades to help people like me financially. But there's 3 things I'd encourage you to think about as you build your own story. Oh, one other thing is, like, we've raised like $170 million of federal grants. Like, that was pre-Doge money, so who knows what it'll end up at. But we've won nationally competitive National Science Foundation grants, Economic Development Administration grants, USDA grants, because of this vision of solving real problems for a real audience, in this case farmers, and collaborating and building partnerships. So 3 things I'd encourage each and one of you to do today. One is declare your major. Every region that declares the major does better, and I believe the bolder, the wilder, the stranger than ever. One time, Barry, the founder, were having one of those coffees, and he just got back from the dentist. Anybody got pain meds after the dentist? So he got those, and I don't know what he was on, but like I liked it, and I kind of wanted some. And he said, what if we do farming on space? Did you know the feds invest hundreds of millions of dollars a year in space farming? And so we've brought NASA and those organizations. So declare a major, commit. One is go public and invite the world. We had our first press release, and we're on the front page of the newspaper with just the idea and the name. We didn't know anything. And it turns out if you have bold ideas, people don't want you to fail, so they like fill in all the gaps. And it's amazing. You don't have to figure it out. This isn't like a university model where they announce a fundraising campaign, but 70% is done. We announce with $10. And we go for 40, just like I did today. So if anybody wants to close the gap, that'd be great. And then the last is a bias towards action. I think the worst thing you can do from a strategy point of view as you try to change the world is you sit on your hands. You have committee meetings. You know, I think about people that are like, well, I helped out. I was talking to a mayor one time. She's like, oh, I helped these entrepreneurs. I was like, oh, what'd you do? She's like, I sent them a grant proposal. I'm like, wow, you sent them paperwork. What a gift. I think we all have an opportunity to create the community we want to be a part of. And I think bold economic development strategies are what change the world. I'm proud to be an American. This is like a country where you can declare bankruptcy and start over. It's possible. So we don't need devil advocates. We need to support our artists. And the last thing I'll say is back to our grand opening of the Grand Farm. I had my kids on stage because I try to include them in everything I do. And they sat through 2 hours. We had like 14 elected officials. Like, Jesus, like 79 hours of programming. Just kidding, it was quick. But they talked about space farming and the future of technology to feed the world and support energy initiatives. And they pulled the balloons down. And that night when I was tucking my son AZ, Alexander, in, who's 5, he starts asking me, hey, Dad, if we're going to farm on space, or in space, how big of a rocket ship do we need to bring a tractor with? And what are the soil conditions like? And then I brought him out when we had our Autonomous Nation conference. He says, can I be a drone pilot? How do I get a license to fly one of those things? And I thought to myself, I need to engage young people in every single step of the process. Because young people know the world today. Yes, we have our stories from the past, and that's important. But the cliche of they're 100% of our future is so true. So I hope you'll be bold, I hope you'll declare a major, and I hope you'll continue to support one another on this entrepreneurial journey of a community. I've only been here for 24 hours, but it's beautiful here. Your downtown has energy and excitement, and I think we should have the next year's event at the T-shirt factory. Because that place tells me this place is filled with possibility. If you can do that, you can do anything. Thank you for having me. Have a great rest of your day.